Good afternoon. Are you still awake? Because most of the conferences I go, by this time, people are either half asleep or 60% of them are already out of the door. Good to see that you are hungry, not hungry only for the food, but also for the knowledge. Thanks for CPI for having me here. Sorry? Me too, and love from all the way from Singapore. Is CK here? And let me tell you one thing, IoT is dead. What I mean by that is that internet is just one of the medium to connect things. When I look back ahead in the future, when my daughter goes maybe in the university by another 14 years, there could be another medium, maybe you're talking with the brain waves, right? So as a company, we don't like to connect with the technologies. That's why the name is All Things Connected. The fundamental is the things are going to connect it in the future. So a bit of my background so that you know who I am. I've been into industry for almost 14 years. I started as a designer, building complex solutions for, you can call it as industrial robots in oil and gas industries, aviation industries. And half of my career was into broadcast and media technologies, building solutions for technology side of it. I hold 2 degrees, electrical engineering and robotics, and that's how I moved to Singapore back in 2003 as a master's student. And since then, I'm living there. So I founded 2 initiatives. One is called Iot Is Dead, which I'm representing, as well as the company called All Things Connected, which I founded about 1.5 years back. After making enough money for somebody else, I decided to do some for my own. Right? You all have been hearing all these terms since morning: artificial intelligence, robotics, big data, everything. And let me tell you, these are not separate from IoT. It's all part of Internet of Things, right? And get to the basics, actually. The definition of IoT, what I normally say, anything which can do 3 things can be termed as IoT. Which are those? First, you sense something to make sense. And how you do that? You use some intelligence in between, right? So how can it be so simple? If you look at an example of Facebook, I'm sure most of you are on that. What does it do? It sends a lot of your data. Who are you with? What are you eating? Where are you with, right? It keeps sensing a lot of your data. It analyzes it using machine learning or any other AI algorithms to push advertisements, recommend friends, or something with it, right? So 3 things. Now you talk about autonomous vehicles. What does it do? It has a lot of advanced sensors on the vehicle to sense the environment, the data. To do what? To make a route for you to go from point A to point B, right? So IoT is not something which you can see or feel. It's just a concept, right? So how is it going to change the things in the future? As I speak to most of my clients or a lot of IoT leaders in different companies who are trying to drive this digital transformation initiative, my view is IoT is going to drive the business to everything as a service model. Let me take an example here. Imagine you are a construction company, right? So in Dubai, we have been digging out everywhere, doing a lot of constructions. And this particular company who has been renting the machine, construction machine, to their customers, less $5,000 per day for the model, right? Now, if I IoTize this machine, capture different data about usability of the machine, how efficiently they're using it, right? So I capture all this data and create an additional service on top, and I tell my customer that, Mr. Customer, you don't have to pay me now $5,000 per day, because I know how you're using it, right? So let me charge you only $2,000 per day as a base cost for me to put my machine there, but I'll charge you pay per use, right? If you're overutilizing my machines, I'm going to charge you more premium or more service maybe. But this is how you balance out the service. Uber is a typical example of it. Nobody wants to invest in CapEx anymore because the technology is changing so fast, the ROI cycle is getting shorter and shorter. So that's why if you are into IoT space or any digital space, you have to think how your business is going to move as a service model, or how you can help your customer to move from CapEx to service model, right? So then you can create a lot of other services on top. So this is we can call it as a digital transformation with IoT, right? Our speaker actually before from Alibaba spoke about this particular example for Hangzhou. So they have been capturing tons and tons of data to improve the efficiency of the city, either the traffic conditions, the health conditions, the complete city's design. Another example for my own city, Singapore. There's a very interesting project called Virtual Singapore. You can Google it actually, see a video. So what they're doing it actually, they're capturing continuously a lot of data, which they have kind of distributed across students, 500 million of devices, continuously capturing the data, right? And there's another company called Solidworks, many of you may know, creating a virtual environment of Singapore. So you might be thinking why they're doing it actually, right? So let's say for the city developers, the housing body, they want to redesign another state. So with this data, they can create a simulation, how the wind will behave there, how the sun lighting will be there. So it helps them to design a city in a better way, right? This is another example of larger size of an IoT project. We had a speaker actually earlier who had an FC, right? So this is an example that how people are moving into ticketing system using NFC or embedded chips. We got a bit more future autonomous cars. I'm a rider, I ride a big bike in Singapore. But I ride a big bike, I don't recommend actually to ride the bike to the people. The reason is because riding a bike is not just about sitting on a bike and just cranking up the clutch and gear. It goes a lot more beyond it. I have learned to ride a bike. I have learned to read the behavior of the vehicles on the road. So that's why when we talk about autonomous vehicle or any of such system, when we talk about sensing the world, it's not just about capturing the data from the environment, it's about really making a sense of the world, right? Understanding is, when I'm riding on the bike at 100 speed, I know actually the guy in front of my bike, in the car. By just looking at the car, I can figure it out what the guy is doing inside, right? This is, I have learned the behavior. Just little tweeting around, I can figure it out what he's doing. Can this autonomous vehicle do it? Maybe in the future, possibly. And the predicting the behavior. Just a click of a second, and even less than that, I'm ready for that environment. Right? So as you talk about autonomous vehicle, I personally like to call it common sense. Common sense of understanding the behavior of the environment. So which a lot of people are not addressing it. There are some initiative in MIT Media Lab, if you look at, which I'm actually watching up myself. The common sense part of it, the behavior part of it. Right? We just spoke about blockchain and Bitcoin. So how does blockchain applies in IoT? This is one of the very interesting projects. Again, I watch how it's going. If you search about Brooklyn microgrid in US, what they're doing is actually distributed power management. Let's say you have a solar panel, he has a solar panel. You can also buy and sell the power. And where the blockchain comes in picture for the micropayments. Right? This is the application of a technology which makes it easier. And it's not just been happening in US, it's not just about developed countries. This is in Bangladesh, a similar approach, right? So this company called SoulShare, I'm in touch with them as well. So technology helps not only the developed countries, but also will help even more actually the developing country. You should look at this interesting project, which I picked up for you to share. Now let's talk a bit more about the future, right? Programmable materials. This is something I think by the time my daughter might be of my age, that might be the reality, but this is possible, right? People are talking about programmable materials in the future. Now a lot of buzzword is about there. Everybody talks about data is the new oil. We are in Dubai and the Middle East, we have to talk about oil. And in technology, everybody is talking about data is the new oil. But the funny part, a lot of people don't know actually who coined this term. So let me tell you who is he. And he didn't tell only data is the new oil. He told more than that, which is a lot of people miss out to read. He said there's a value you have to create with it. It's not just about you take a oil rig and start digging the oil everywhere, right? You have to understand what you're trying to make with the oil. So let me give an analogy to dig a good data from the well. You need to design a good oil well. And how do we do it? You have to spend quite a time in planning, right? And it requires not just about a data scientist or an API application engineer. It requires different skill set to design a good data oil well. So just continuing an analogy of data as a new oil, to compare when you design any connected solution or IoT solution, you have to go over typical 5 stages when you design an oil well. Right? You first identify where the oil is, right? And then you rent a rig. When you rent a rig means some of the skills you may not have in the organization. Then you have to find the right partner with the rig, right? Then you start drilling a hole. You drill your first hole. You do a pilot. You don't have to start doing a multi-million-dollar projects at the first stage. You do a first drilling. And then you start building the solution around it, make it solid, and you run the completion. So people who are into oil and gas industry, we can relate it very well. The same method you apply when you start your digital journey or a digital transformation journey. It's nothing new which we're talking about here. Right? And this is one of my current project which is going on. Is in North Asia, one of the manufacturing company. They're trying to transform from a high volume production to high value production. So while we can talk about cybernetics, AGVs running on the floor with them, but when you map out their journey, before we get there to industry 0.5 to 5.0, everybody talking about, we need to map out the complete planning. And this planning, we need to engage the people. It's not just about I throw and talk about industry 5.0 and it will all will happen. Actually, they're sitting right now on 0.5, so I have to start from there. So this is how you have to plan your journey and start bite size, then accelerate in the journey. Right. So typical key challenges in IoT projects, which you'll see, most of them are actually a brownfield. Brownfield, what I mean that they are existing infrastructure, right? And the rest of them are greenfield. So the biggest challenge of a greenfield versus brownfield site, there's module, chipset, connectivity, everybody talking about it. And all of them are billion-dollar opportunities according to the reports. Now you can look at the numbers, I don't have to repeat here, but all of them claims these are the multi-billion-dollar opportunities. But why is it not happening yet? Because a lot of people don't focus on the overall putting the piece together, the solution architecture, the program management piece of it, right? And those are not like off-the-shelf skills. They're very, very, very specialized skill which you need to develop in your organization, or you to look in your partner when you look for IoT partner in the organization. Operational knowledge, domain knowledge. As a company, we don't say that we do everything because we have not developed the skill set, the operational skill set in the domain. So same thing, while everybody can claim that there's IoT, but there's a lot of other skills which you need to develop. So whether you are a small company or big company, there are a lot of opportunities in industrial space, connected cranes, connected wells, connected, anything connected, right? But as simple as it looks like, in reality is not that. So you have to build a lot of skill set to get it done, right? And to do that, you can't do it alone. This is one of the movies which I like actually. In Guardian of the Galaxies, which I call Guardian of the IoTs, there is no one superhero. You can't say that you can do it everything. You find the right superheroes in your team or find the right partners to help you to get there. So find the team, build the team, and then you can make it more accelerated effort. So with that, I would like to thank everybody to listening me. I'm actually in Dubai for another day. I would love to meet. That's what I was sharing with Rushika, Gina, and Nadeem, that I'm here to hopefully partner with some of the SMEs who are looking for visibility and some support for the understanding of the business in Asia. Asia is not a one country like US or Europe. Asia is many, many more countries, and the culture, the way the business happens, there is completely different. So reach out to me, here are my contacts, or if you look for any support or any contacts. I also initiated one of the largest special interest group based out of Singapore to try to bring the smaller players up in this game. Because it's not just about Digital of the world or IBM or Cisco can do it. In fact, means I don't hear them over the conference only, but I drink beer with them after work, and that's where you get the realities. They need support actually. They ask me for the support from the smaller players. So how do we bridge this gap of SME or the mid-level players with the larger players? Is this what we're trying to do? So look out for me, and any question if you have, I think time is up. Reach out to me, drop me a note on LinkedIn or Twitter. Happy to reach out to you. Thanks a lot.